A common complaint from those that have tried internet dating concerns the accuracy, or perhaps that should be lack of accuracy, of the profile pictures that people use to promote themselves on internet dating sites. Oh hi, it's so nice to meet you in person.
I wish I could say the same, but you looked much better in your picture.
Emotional damage! Where's the therapy button?
But are we really so predisposed to misrepresent the way we look online? And if so, why? Stay tuned and I'll tell you a little bit about a study that addresses this very topic. In 2017, Hancock and Toma conducted a study to assess the way in which people represent themselves photographically within a dating profile. First of all, they wanted to find out whether people represented themselves accurately in their profile picture. Second, they wanted to establish whether any perceived discrepancies between the person and their photograph reflected more on the characteristics of the person depicted in the photograph or the characteristics of the photographic process itself. Third, they wanted to ascertain whether there were any differences between men and women in terms of how accurate their profile pictures were perceived as being, how many discrepancies they contained, and the nature of those discrepancies.
I'm not touching that with a 60-foot pole.
To achieve this, the experimenters asked a series of online daters to rate the accuracy of their profile pictures. The experimenter then took a picture of each participant in the same pose they'd adopted in their profile pictures, but with a plain background and without any embellishments of any kind. Finally, each participant was asked a series of questions about their profile picture, including how old it was and whether it had been manipulated in any way.
How very day.
A group of independent judges, both male and female, were then asked to compare the profile picture for each participant to the one that the experimenter had taken, and to indicate to what extent they felt that each participant's profile picture was an accurate reflection of how they looked currently, as depicted in the experimenter's photograph. A group of trained coders were then asked to examine both the profile pictures and the pictures that had been taken by the experimenter for each of the participants in relation to a list of 13 discrepancies. These discrepancies related to the characteristics of the person depicted in the photograph, for example their age, their weight, their height, their hairstyle, and so on and so forth, and also to the characteristics of the photograph itself, for example had any filters been used. Neither the independent judges nor the trained coders could see each other's ratings. The study generated a number of findings. First, participants tended to rate their own profile pictures as being more accurate, in other words more representative of how they looked in the photo taken by the experimenter, than the independent judges.
No shit!
In fact, almost a third of the profile pictures were deemed by the independent judges to be an inaccurate representation of the person concerned.
Disappointed!
Second, the trained coders found that 85% of the profile pictures contained at least one discrepancy with the experimenter shot counterpart pictures, either in relation to the physical characteristics of the individual in the photograph or the characteristics of the photograph itself, in other words, whether it had been embellished in some way. As you would hope, profile pictures that were judged to contain more discrepancies by the trained coders were also deemed to be less accurate by the independent judges. Third, perhaps not surprisingly, discrepancies that related to the characteristics of the subject of the photograph, for example their age or their weight, had the biggest impact on the perception of the accuracy of the profile picture. Fourth, there were no differences between males and females in terms of how accurate they perceived their profile pictures to be. But there were differences between males and females in terms of how accurate their profile pictures were deemed to be by the independent judges. Female profile pictures were perceived as being significantly less accurate than male profile pictures.
Whew. Danger, danger, danger.
Of course, we should acknowledge that there is simply more scope for discrepancies to emerge between the pictures in females than there is for males. It's probably fair to say that there is much more societal pressure on females especially in the context of dating, to enhance their appearance using things like makeup and digital manipulation than is the case for males. So it's hardly surprising that female profile pictures were deemed to contain more discrepancies and more likely to be digitally manipulated than male profile pictures. So why were some participants using profile pictures that were deemed to be inaccurate by the independent judges? Well, Toma et al. Didn't think this could simply be put down to participants not being particularly good at judging how representative their photos were of how they looked in day-to-day life, due to a number of patterns they observed in the results of the study. First, although males tended to give their profile pictures higher accuracy ratings than the independent judges, the ratings provided by these two sources were correlated. So it seems like the males in the study were aware of the discrepancies between their profile picture and the one taken by the experimenter, but just downplayed the significance of these discrepancies in reaching an overall decision about the accuracy of their profile picture. Second, for the females in the study, an analysis of the discrepancies between the profile pictures and those taken by the experimenter revealed that the discrepancies seemed to be orientated towards meeting what might be regarded as men's traditional preferences. There were more discrepancies in physical characteristics such as age, weight and hairstyle, for example, and a greater tendency to use photographic manipulation, for example filters, or to hire the services of a professional photographer.
Look, I'm not even shooting you.
The researchers argued that the posting of inaccurate profile pictures is likely a product of our need to reach a compromise between appearing as attractive as possible to prospective mates by presenting ourselves in the most favourable light, without being overtly dishonest or deceptive in how we achieve this. Previous research has shown that people also do this in their internet dating profile descriptions, for example by slightly embellishing their personal characteristics, but not to the extent where their integrity might be called into question.
Bullshit.
The sheer range of digital automated tools that are available to you in order to enhance your appearance means that selective self-presentation is arguably even easier to achieve in photography than it is via text. You can cherry pick a particularly flattering picture of yourself and or embellish it with digital filters without feeling overtly dishonest, because you can rationalise the picture as being representative of how good you can look, perhaps on special occasions, rather than how good you do look most often in day-to-day life.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
In doing this, you reach what might be regarded as a satisfactory compromise between making yourself look good whilst maintaining an acceptable degree of authenticity. This explains why certain discrepancies, such as age, have a bigger negative impact on the perception of the accuracy of a profile picture than other discrepancies. If you post a picture of yourself from 20 years ago, then you've made yourself look better, but not in a way that could be reasonably described as authentic given the circumstances. So what can we take from this study? Well, it provides some empirical evidence about a common complaint concerning internet dating, specifically that profile pictures aren't always a faithful representation of what an individual looks like in day-to-day life. The study demonstrates that when an individual posts a profile picture, there's a pretty good chance that they will deem it to be a more accurate representation of what they look like in day-to-day life than others will, and that this is probably motivated by the need to reconcile a desire to present themselves in as favourable light as possible without being overtly dishonest. In other words, when we post a profile picture, we tend to play a little bit fast and loose with what constitutes a representative example of how we look in day-to-day life, in order to get a strategic advantage in a competitive field. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please do hit the like button. If you're interested in watching more videos about psychological research and its application to life, and you haven't done so already, then do subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell notification icon so you know when I post new content. Thanks very much, and see you in the next video.